What's up, everybody? It's Evan, the main motorcycle addict, and today we're going to be talking about what happened in AMA Supercross at Oakland, round 2 of the season. We're also going to go back a little bit and talk about Anaheim 1. Unfortunately, I came down with COVID and wasn't able to do a video after Anaheim 1, which I wanted to do one after every race. But feeling better now, seem to be over it, so that's good, and we'll just move on from here. But before we get any further into the video, I do want to point out, you've probably seen this 60 helmet sitting on my desk for a little while. The reason I wear this helmet is because I really do believe in the technology that 60 brings to the table. They're the only helmet company out there that has the omnidirectional suspension system, so it protects you against rotational impacts and twisting your head, as well as direct impacts either to the back or the side or the front. It suspends your head inside the helmet from any angle, which is a really cool technology, and if you look into the science behind it, it really is a lot safer than a traditional helmet. And I am extremely happy to announce that the folks at 60 have agreed to sponsor me and sponsor this channel, so they are official supporters of the main motorcycle addict. So if you or anybody that you need is in the market for a helmet, if your kid needs a new helmet for this riding season, definitely check out 60 helmets. So again, really good company, really good product. Highly advise you check them out. Alright, let's get into the video. Alright, so I assume that by now you've probably watched both races, but if you haven't, I'll just kind of break down a little bit of what happened in the first two races, give you the top three at least. Anaheim 1, the main events actually were pretty uneventful for the most part. In the 250 class, Christian Craig got out to the lead pretty early, and he just set sail. He was gone after that. Seth Hammaker got up to second, stayed in second pretty much the whole way. Hunter Lawrence got not a terrible start, but not a good start by any means. And I think he had a few issues in the first couple laps. Was able to get himself back up to third in the 250 class. And then in the 450 class, Roczen whole shot it. Him and Sexton were 1-2 right off the bat, and they were able to kind of march out to a pretty big lead. Cincerilla was in third, and his shoulder was really bothering him, so he just kind of started fading back, and it looked like Sexton was going to be able to pressure to Roczen and get the lead from him, and then he ended up going down, fell back a few places, got back up, got going again, and then he went down again in the whoops. So Sexton did what Sexton does, and he probably had the speed to win Anaheim 1. I think he definitely had the speed to win, but he took himself out of the race, and that was pretty much that. At that point, Roczen had a pretty big lead, and then Cooper Webb was able to fight his way up into second place, and Barcia finished out in third. And that was pretty much it for the main event in Anaheim 1. So a couple of the things that stuck out to me at Anaheim 1 was, first of all, Anderson, and I know probably sounds like I'm cheating because I'm doing this after Oakland, but I did think this when I saw it during Anaheim 1. Anderson got taken out in the heat race by Musquin. He got taken out again by Barcia in the main event, but they showed him coming through the pack in the heat race. He dropped down like 14th, 15th place, something like that, after he got taken out, and they showed him coming back through the pack trying to get back into a transfer position, and I thought he looked really, really good on the bike. He looked like Anderson, like the way he used to look back in 2018. He was being aggressive. He looked comfortable on the bike. He was moving it all around, lots of body English, and just kind of that classic Anderson style with his jersey untucked, flowing out the back. And I thought he looked really good. And I thought to myself, man, if he gets a decent start with that speed, he's going to be pretty tough to compete with. So that was one of the things that struck me out of Anaheim 1. The other things that I kind of noticed were Tomac, Webb, and Ferrandis. Webb did work his way up to second. He was good, but he didn't have that late moto blazing speed where he was just way faster than everybody else, and neither did Ferrandis or Tomac. And those are the three guys that you kind of expect to be there at the end of the race, and they normally separate themselves at the end of the race. And Tomac just wasn't going anywhere. Ferrandis wasn't going anywhere. He didn't even make it into the top 10. They didn't have that that classic charge and raw pace that you expect to see from them. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And we're going to take a look at some lap times later to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. But I thought that was kind of interesting that those guys didn't really seem dramatically better than all the guys around them at the end of the race. And that's kind of where they make their money. So that takes us into round 2 for Oakland. Round 2 for Oakland, as far as the 250s are concerned, was kind of a lot of the same. Christian Craig is just blazing fast. It looks like, it's still really early in the season, but it looks like unless he gets hurt or comes down with COVID and misses some races or something like that, it just doesn't look like anybody's got anything for him. Shimoda was able to get the whole shot. Good job to him. He made a couple mistakes though, went down twice. Did almost a complete front flip in the whoops, and luckily was able to just get up and ride away from it. So he ended up kind of throwing his race away. But once again, Craig got to the lead pretty quick. He was just gone. I mean, his pace is far superior to everybody else's, especially in the whoops, man. The guy is so fast through the whoops, it's crazy. You see him next to the other 250 riders, and he's just on flat ground. The other thing that happened in the 250 main event was one individual was able to make history, and that is Jared Stanky was able to get a 125 into the main event, and he didn't even have to go through the LCQ. He was able to get 9th place in the heat race and get a 125 in the 250 main event. Huge congrats to him. That's a massive achievement. A 125 hasn't made it to the main event in I guess at that point they were called lights races, but against 254 strokes in 15 years. That was the last time a 125 was in a main event in the lights class. As far as the 450s are concerned, both of the Cowies got out to a awesome start. AC was able to take the whole shot with Anderson right behind him, and they started marching away a little bit. Plessinger got into third and really started chasing them down, and then so it looks like he kind of let Anderson take the lead, and then that was that. As he fell back, Plessinger was able to get into second. Barsha was able to get into third as Adam Cianciarulo was falling back. So he's been on the podium twice now. So he's actually the points leader because Roxon fell in the whoop section before the finish line jump, and that pretty much put him out of contention for that race. I think he wasn't even in the top 10. So bummer for that. Webb didn't do very good. He got 6th or 7th, I think. So everybody that did good the first week, other than Barsha, did pretty bad in Oakland. So Barsha now has the lead with Anderson and Webb behind him. They're both 3 points behind him, tied in second place. So as far as the points go, it's really tight in the 450 division. And so far, Barsha's been the only one with any consistency. So we'll see if that continues or not. So that's pretty much the cliff notes of what happened in Oakland. But what I'm really interested in, what I want to kind of do with this wrap up, is try to put my finger on any trends or tendencies that I'm starting to see. So like I said about Anaheim 1, I felt like when I was watching the race, it didn't seem like Webb, Tomac, and Ferrandis had the late moto pace that I expected out of them. It just didn't seem like they were charging through the pack at the end of the race like you're normally seeing from those three. And again, in Oakland, it kind of felt the same way. Tomac got up into 4th place. He had a pretty decent gap behind Barsha, but it seemed like he was going to be able to close that gap up and make a charge for 3rd place, but it just never materialized. You know, he would gain a little bit on him and then lose a little bit, and he was kind of doing the accordion thing with Barsha, like Plessinger was with Anderson up front. It just never really amounted to anything. That's kind of what I felt like I was seeing, and I just wanted to check some stats and check the lap times to see if my eyes were deceiving me or if that was really what was going on. So I put this little chart together to show the average lap times at the end of the races. So let's take a look at this chart. So if we take a look at the average lap times from the first 2 races of the season, I made this little chart here that shows everybody's average lap times for the top 10 finishers in both Anaheim 1 and Oakland. And I didn't go past the tenths of a second when I was averaging this out. So if it was like 101.567, I just went 101.5, added up there, their lap times from the last 6 in Anaheim, the last 5 in Oakland, added those up and, averaged them out. What you'll see is that, normally we expect Tomac, Ferrandis, and Webb to be the fastest at the end of the race. That's usually when they do most of their damages, at the end of the races. But it didn't feel like they were really charging compared to the rest of the field when I was watching the races. So I put this together, and you can see, I tried to throw out the outliers and show you just kind of what the bulk of the field was doing at the end of the race. And you can see that in Anaheim 1, we had a difference between the fastest average lap time and the slowest of 0.9 seconds. And Tomac and Webb were both pretty much in the middle of that. Ferrandis didn't even finish in the top 10. So I thought that was kind of odd, so I wanted to show you this little list. And then if we look in Oakland, again, I kind of threw out what I considered as outliers. So I threw out the bottom 3. I don't know if they were getting caught up with lappers that were battling, or if they just had big gaps and they weren't pushing the last few laps because their lap times went up quite a bit at the end. But if you look at everybody else, the average lap time difference here is 0.8 seconds for Oakland. And Webb did actually have the fastest time out of that group, but not by a lot. So, he was catching Ferrandis, but if Ferrandis had a 3-second lead with 5 laps to go, Webb wasn't going to catch him, He wasn't charging up on him super fast. Tomac's pretty much right in the middle of that average again. So as you can see, those 3 guys are like I thought I was seeing when I was watching the races. After you look at the lap times, they are more average. They're human. They're not blowing by guys at the end of races. But I'm really excited to see if that continues, or if those guys are able to get it straightened out going into San Diego. I personally have always said, I'm not too shook up about points at this point. I think if you start making any predictions on championships at this point, you're just being kind of foolish. If you get it right, it's just because you got lucky. It's not because of what you've seen so far. I don't think we know enough yet to really make any predictions long term, whether it's with any professional sport, really, professional football, Supercross, hockey, whatever it is. I've always felt like you need at least a quarter of the season before you can start figuring out who's who. With football, I always say, for the first 4 games, you really have no idea if your team's good or not. Maybe they beat somebody that was good last year, but you don't know if that team's good this year or not, so you don't know what anything means at that point. Same thing goes for Supercross. We don't really know, was Anaheim 1 a fluke? Were people just nervous? So some people did better than they're going to do the rest of the year. We don't have enough information yet. So I would wait till about after round 4, maybe round 5. And then what I think you're going to see is a couple guys start to separate themselves at that point. I think whoever has momentum after round 4 is going to start to pull away from the rest of the pack. Right now, the top 9 guys in points are within 10 points of each other. So it's really bunched up and close, but that's going to slowly start spreading apart. And round 4 or 5, you're going to get a better feel for who's who and what's what. With that being said, I am excited for San Diego. I think it's going to be an interesting race. I think if Anderson can get another good start, I think he's going to be tough to beat. He looks really good. Like I said, at A1, coming through the pack in that heat race, he was flying. I know it's just a heat race, but still, he looked really good on the bike. And then really dominant performance in Oakland. So he's looking pretty good. I would definitely expect Webb to have a better result in San Diego than he did in Oakland. He got 7th in Oakland. Last season, he only had 4 races where he didn't finish on the podium, and 2 of those were 4th place. So a 7th place is not going to sit well with Cooper Webb. He's going to be pissed. He's going to want some payback, and I could see him being pretty motivated and pretty tough to beat going into San Diego. Tomac definitely made improvements from A1 to Oakland, better starts, but we'll see where that goes. So yeah, those are the things that I'm going to be looking for at San Diego. Expect Anderson to have a good race again. Expect Webb to have a good race again, and see if Tomac can keep making progress. Broxton looked pretty good in Oakland, other than that crash really set him back. and I don't know if he twisted his bike up or what. He wasn't able to get back up to pace after that crash. So he might want some revenge too. He might be another guy to look out for coming into San Diego. So we'll see how that plays out. And if you like this content, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like this video. That definitely helps us out here on the channel. And I also started an Instagram account this week, so you can follow me at Maine Motorcycle Addict on Instagram, and I'll be posting some stuff on there that you can check out as well. So I'll catch you guys next week. Enjoy the racing.